NoSo Countdown listeners. My name is Jennifer Smith. I'm here with my tag team partner, Mike Rossi. How are you, Mike?
I am doing excellent. How you doing?
I'm fantastic, and we are so excited to bring you guys number 19 on our countdown list, Mr. Brock Lesnar. Oh, it's a big one, kind of.
Yeah, quite a controversial figure in the last couple
Mm,
months, right?
true, true. Is it still okay to be a Brock fan? I don't know anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I guess nothing's been like officially proven yet, right?
Right?
We'll find
Yeah.
out. And it brings you to the question, like me, as we talk about these matches, do we ever see another Brock Lesnar WrestleMania match? We might not.
It's a great question. We might not. This might be the definitive list that we have here.
It might. And when we think about WrestleMania and Brock Lesnar, what is the first thing that comes to your head?
The first thing that comes to my head is just power and even in loss, because I was in Dallas when he lost to Roman, and even though he lost, he was still dominant in that match, and it was incredible to watch in live.
Yeah, he feels like the main event in every match
Yes,
he's
he
in, right?
is. Yes.
So like even like, he carries that star power to him that, you're some people I'm sure watch these WrestleManias just to see what he does. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Actually, my favorite Brock memory is from a SummerSlam in Nashville when he drove a fucking tractor into the ring.
Yes, that was the
So
Roman
that
Reigns
was
match.
incredible.
That was the
Yes,
Reigns match we all deserved,
it
for sure.
was.
And they definitely delivered it. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna run through. We feel that there's five
Hmm.
matches that are really impactful when we start talking about Brock Lesnar, and none is more impactful than what was probably the most shocking moment in
Mm.
WrestleMania history. I was there. It was my second WrestleMania. I don't think I talked for an hour after it happened. But when Brock Lesnar defeated the Undertaker at WrestleMania 30. So what's your history with that match? Did you watch? Were you a fan live then? Did you jump in late? Did you see it recently? How did that match go for you?
My first Mania was 34, so this was before my time, but I have seen this several times because it's iconic and an amazing moment. I rewatched it today, and boy, it still holds up. It's incredible.
It does. I actually like the match more now than I
Hmm.
did back in the day. Like obviously live's different, so you've got to watch it
Yep.
back. But I think watching it now, you kind of, I mean, it's obviously not as shocking when you're watching it now, right? But you can kind of pick up some intricacies that kind of were telling you along the way he was going to win this match, but nobody believed it.
Nope. Nope.
And it's just when that ref hit three, it's everybody just like you can hear a pin drop in that place.
The
I've
stunned
never
silence
I've
was
been to
incredible.
right. I've been to 7 or 8 manias. That was the moment that stood still to me as the most like shocking moment that I've ever experienced of anything live.
Paul was so great in that match too, such a big part of that. His reaction to the win, like even he didn't believe it, and somehow it came true.
Right, and Taker was like knocked out cold pretty early
Out.
on, and Brock still carried him through it.
Yep.
These two are such good friends. I'm sure that there's so many conversations we had. Like when I talked about CM Punk back in the mid 20s, we were talking about how maybe he should have beat Taker at 29. But looking back at this moment now, it's like, okay, Brock was the one that was believably the one to beat him.
He's undeniable in these WrestleMania showings.
Absolutely. And he parlayed that into squashing Cena at SummerSlam that year. And he
Right.
definitely improved his profile. And he was kind of, I don't know, kind of lingering. The 29 match was kind of lame. We'll talk about that in a bit. But
Mhm.
he kind of was looking for his footing. And this match is what pushed him there. So from there, let's talk about the matches that we would probably deem the top four. And these have all ratings that are based off of, Meltzer, big old Dave,
Oh yeah.
Canton, JT, and the average. So number four by average was 3.25 stars. It's actually kind of low for being a top four, but Bill Goldberg at WrestleMania 33 in Orlando was a pretty quick sprint, 4 minutes and 45 seconds,
Mm.
but quite an awesome sprint.
Yes, I think that the Brock matches are hard to rate
They
uh,
are.
at Manias, especially, and when you have something like this, which was exactly what you wanted to see,
Right.
Goldberg spearing and Brock hitting suplexes and F5s. It was a perfect match.
It
Like,
really was. It was one of those moments that, it's like they went right like in a typical wrestling match, they fast forwarded to the finish, right? And they just spot. And
That's
it really called back to the Survivor Series match before when Goldberg squashed him too. And now Brock kind of gave it back. So really cool moment. This was definitely Goldberg's shining moment of his return run. And Brock's got a big piece of that.
He does. And Goldberg did, you know, he he was amazing. He was amazing in this, and he withstood all the superplexes in the beginning of the match, and really hung in there for those whatever 5 minutes, and to really bring a memorable Mania moment.
Yeah, we got the spear through the barricade. We got everything that should be everything you wanted in this match delivered, and they did it. They got in and out in under 5 minutes, exactly what we all wanted. So it's cool moment. Number 4 was Goldberg. So then number 3 was Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 38 in Dallas. Now you had mentioned that you were at that show. I was not. How was the live vibe at this match?
It was tense, right? There was a lot of build up to this. This is the biggest WrestleMania match of all time, a unification. So everybody, it was the culmination of the entire weekend. So everybody was on pins and needles for this.
Right. And this was a match that, you know, it only went 12 minutes and 15 seconds. There's a lot of rumor and innuendo out there that this thing was supposed to go 20-25, but then there was injury scares to both of them during this match. Roman especially thought he popped his shoulder out. So, and I think Brock had a concussion as well. So it kind of hurts looking back at this, wondering what it could have been. You know what I mean? But to your point before, we got that, what it could have been in Nashville.
Yep. Yeah, we did.
So when we look at Reigns having 3 matches with Brock over this time frame, this was, as far as the singles matches go, a little bit better than the one at 34. But as a whole, yeah, the only bad thing I have to say about this match, which we have a 3 and a third stars basically, is that I want to know what it was going to look like if weird shit didn't happen, you know?
Yeah, the finish was a little iffy. Kind of, but we could see Roman's shoulder clearly out of socket during there. So that was, but you got great Paul moments again with this one. He's begging Brock, saying, "It was all Roman's idea. Take me back. Boom, get spear to the barricade. So that was excellent use of Paul. Brock's confidence in the match just off the charts on this one.
Absolutely.
Just the swagger is incredible. You can't fake that. Nobody else can do that like Brock.
No, just his aura. Like, you really felt it during this match. Like, you know, he's the one guy that really intimidated Roman Reigns throughout this entire title run, really. And then we go to number 2, which is his first WrestleMania match ever, which was a 4.33 cumulative rating with Kurt Angle at WrestleMania 19. This one was 22 minutes flat. And it obviously is well known for that spot where Brock almost killed himself doing the shooting star off the top rope.
Yes.
But what are your thoughts on this match as a whole? Do you think that the grade still holds up?
I do. I loved rewatching this one. This is a different Brock, right? A young one, I want to say green, but he still has that confidence. But Angle really puts him through it. Angle. They do all the chain wrestling so nimble in the beginning, and then they really start throwing the bombs. Such a different match from what we've seen on the rest of these in comparison. A non-stop pace. That whole 22 minutes, they don't stop. There's one really big choke hold that was actually incredible, where Kurt tried to choke the fuck out of Brock. Even that, it doesn't detract from the match. Like, it's an actual epic part of the match. The suplexes, 3 F5s to finally pin Kurt and win.
And this was like a true technical match, which Brock didn't have a lot of on this Mania list. And obviously, as you look, he did this and one more, and then he was gone for 9 years. And when he came back, he was a way different type of performer. Let's put it that way. So it's cool to have this on a Mania list because it's so much different, and it kind of gives you like what Brock, I hate to say what he could have been because he turned into something awesome anyways, but it's such a different type of Brock. If he never went to UFC, it's interesting to think about what this Brock from 19 would have become, you know?
That's a great idea, like a great what if to think about.
Yeah, because he probably would have been, the match the next year probably doesn't happen the way that it does, and all of that nature. And then number one, this was the third Mania that I ever attended, and this was probably the second most shocking moment in WrestleMania history when you think about it.
Yeah.
Where Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar were having an awesome match.
Yes.
The entire match goes about 16 minutes, 43 seconds. These two were kicking the shit out of each other. There's no way to put it. Going into this match, there was a level of mystery as to who was going to win, where Brock had re-signed, like, very epically on ESPN, like 2 days prior to the show. So there was that level of mystery of, will Brock win? Will Roman win? I actually took a bus to this Mania with the Wrestling Observer crew, and I had Dave Meltzer on the bus.
Wow. No, really?
Yeah, we were shooting the shit with him the whole way there. And it was, will Brock win? Will Reigns win? And when you look back at it now, there isn't a single fucking person that expected Seth Rollins to cash in during this match,
I wondered about that when I was watching it today. Like, was it obvious at this point that Seth was going to run in?
No, it didn't. I think that there were some thoughts that maybe post-match he might, especially if Reigns won, because then we had that, that continuation of the Shield program going on, right? But nobody and their brother ever expected him to cash in mid-match because it was something that was never done at the time,
Yeah, like he's the godfather of that surprise run-in, I guess.
Just an awesome moment. This match was 4.5. JT has us at 5. It was so perfectly done, and this came about 3 months after Brock, Rollins, and Cena had another 5-star match level at the Royal Rumble that year. So it was like Rollins had the Money in the Bank, but he was still getting title matches. So you didn't think that he had any connection to Brock at all, and then bam, the heist of the century, they called it, right?
Well, who do you think won that match? In what we saw, minus Seth, who won?
Oh man, I think that Reigns started to. He won me over that night, right? Like, because that was a big night for him, and then they kind of booked him like shit for the next year, and we were all we were all disappointed in his Triple H match, and that it even existed at 32. But I thought that he stood toe to toe with Brock, and I felt like this was the first real like Reigns singles match that you saw that star in him.
It definitely came across in that match for me as well. It was kind of lucky that Seth cashed in because who knows who would have come out on top on that one. It was dead even.
Right, and you didn't have a definitive winner there between the two guys that started the match, so that's what led to their feud continuing. Really,
right.
If you had a definitive winner there, maybe it doesn't feel as much like that's this big rivalry that lasts another 8 years or whatever it was.
Crazy, right?
And it was something that, Reigns and Brock always kind of became hand in hand after this, in my opinion, over the next few years, as Reigns being the star, Brock being the only person that could, take that shine off of him, except for Seth Rollins, right? And then this match famously is when we got Suplex City Bitch, which was probably the most natural thing that Brock's ever done, and it made him money on T-shirts for the next decade, right?
I need one of those T-shirts.
Right. They were
maybe not anymore, but
yeah, right. Now it might be weird. But they would sell the shirt with the colors of whatever city they were in.
Oh, that's
so it was cool.
Genius.
Like if you're in Boston, you had a green one, things like that. So it was pretty cool. All in all, I mean, his top 5 is really good, especially his top really 2, I would say. And just 1 and 2 are just so drastically different. You know what I mean?
Incredibly. So, like, I love that. I love that growth in a wrestler that you can clearly see. And even though you have 2 incredible opponents in those matches as well.
Right. And then the other matches that we kind of will quickly bang through here. Triple H at 29 was a cool match. It wasn't great. What sucked about this match is it was right after Punk and Undertaker, which was what everybody was there for other than Cena Rock. So it had to fight itself between Punk and Undertaker and Cena Rock, and nobody was going to be successful in that spot. Ended up getting 2.5 stars. I think Canton was a little generous there, giving it 3.25. Then Reigns at 34, kind of similar to Reigns at 31, where Brock had re-signed like the week of Mania. So everybody thought Reigns was going to get crowned here, right? And he didn't, right? Nope. So that's, again, what carried on the Brock Reigns' story. And I think that this was kind of a very integral piece into eventually getting Heyman with Reigns, right? It kind of continued their story. And then they were able to kind of flip the script when, then Brock was a baby at 38, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then 35, the match with Rollins. Opening match of the show, there was a lot of rumor that Brock wasn't happy with how everything was going and he wanted to get in and out of there. That's why they opened the show with it. Star-making moment for Seth Rollins again, though. And he can hold that accolade over Brock to this day that he won a title from him at WrestleMania twice. You know what I mean?
Yeah, especially in 2 minutes and whatever seconds, because Brock attacked him prior to the match and beat his ass before the bell even rang, and then Seth pulled it off.
Right, and this was the start.
Another steal.
Yeah, this was the start of what should have been like a big time Rollins babyface run.
Mm-hmm.
Booking kind of hurt that with the Fiend, right? But at the end of the day, it was a cool moment for Rollins, and it was a very long Mania, so it was cool to get this early while everybody still had energy. It wasn't much of a match, but hey, it was fun. And then Drew at 36, which was COVID Mania.
It don't count.
Match, right? A match that I still to this day wish had fans, because it was the moment, that Rumble that got Drew that title shot, eliminating Brock. Electric, right? Like that made Drew such a bigger star, and then he wins the title with nobody there,
Yep.
They still worked hard. They did their quick spots.
Everybody did.
Yeah,
they did.
And then, then there's even worse ones that we'll talk about really quickly. The Goldberg match at 20, which was famously known as Goldberg and Brock with one foot out the door. The crowd at MSG just shit all over this match. Stone Cold ended up stunning them both and reigned supreme himself. Then Dean Ambrose at 32. That was supposed to be Bray Wyatt, and then they couldn't figure out how they wanted to go with it. So then Bray ended up with an injury. I forget how it worked. Ambrose jumps in. Match sucked because he wanted to do so many intricate things with weapons, and Brock was like, not going to work for me, brother.
No.
So the match stunk. And then Omos last year, honestly, for what they were given, it wasn't awful.
Well, you're a mark for Omos.
I am, right? Like a quiet one. But we got 2.5 stars out of Omos from the ratings, so we'll take that any day. Rollins got a better match out of him the next month, and we really haven't seen him since. So
nope.
But overall, Brock Lesnar, do you think at 19 he's rated too low?
Yes, that was one of my comments today. Like, after watching this stuff and thinking on it, 19 feels low to me. What about you?
Yeah, I can't think of 18 people, maybe 10 or so, but I can't think of 18 people that were more impactful to the WrestleMania shows that they were on. I think we get too in love with star ratings and which match was the best match of the night. Mm-hmm. Brock doesn't give a shit about the best match of the night.
Nope.
You know what I mean? He just wants to come in and make an impact and leave and cash his checks,
He wrecks shit and fucking leaves. And that's what we want. That's what I want from my Brock matches. Like, exactly. And even with that Kurt match was such a different flow from him. That even made me think, top 10. Gotta be.
Right. And you look at, like, really, when you pull this list together, like the Goldberg match at 20, even if one of them was going to re-sign with WWE, that's probably a way different match. It was a dream match.
Yeah.
Luckily, we got it back at 33, 13 years later. And it was awesome, right? Mm-hmm. But think about if that match happened at 20 at Madison Square Garden. Like, the roof would have come off the place. Yeah, sure. And then the Drew match. If the Drew match had fans, that's definitely a much higher rated match. If those two kind of got their justice, right? Which some's Brock's fault completely with the contract issues, right?
True.
But if those two matches in particular got a little bit more shine, then, that might be enough to bump them into the top 10,
I would agree. I might have to rewatch that 36 match with no fans and see how I feel about it.
Yeah, like everybody thinks about that as like this horrible 2-night event, and it was like, no, I mean, they did the best they could. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. The world was falling down across us. So all in all, 12 Mania matches for Brock, 5 main events, 7 world title match. And then we went through what's all deemed like all-time matches, right? Because they're all things that, like, the definitive Brock matches are the 5 that we covered. which you guys can see right below us here. Ultimately, you know, if you're watching this and you've never watched that Undertaker match, go do it right now.
It's
you know
worth
what I mean?
it just for that, just for the ending of the streak and the reaction to it. It was unlike
Absolutely.
anything I've ever seen.
No, it was surreal. It was definitely surreal. Now, Jenny, what plugs do you have for us?
So you can find me on Wednesdays right here on the North South Connection. I have a couple shows, some wrestling, some non-wrestling. I like to mix it up. So just find me on Wednesdays and listen to my stuff. How about it? You can also follow me across all socials at Jenny Position. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm mainly in with ChroNoSo here, where we do the monthly
Mhm.
shows and kind of buzz through everything. But I'm going to do the plug I've done with the other two. It's March, so I'm the resident college basketball guy with Andrew Reich. So you'll be hearing us in what will be a super long podcast in the next week or so, previewing the tournament once the bracket comes out. So that's a little bit different from the wrestling that I normally talk about, but obviously it's a passion of ours. So
Mhm.
we look forward to doing that with you guys. And yeah, this was awesome, Jenny. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
NoSo Countdown. We are back with number 18, Seth Rollins. I am Logan freaking Crosland, and I'm here with the architect, and Andy Atherton. How you doing tonight, Andy?
Oh, I'm great. You know, you are a revolutionary.
Am I a visionary?
That too. I'm gonna say you're here, we're there. Everybody is all over the place for Seth Rollins, man.
I should have called you the Monday Night Messiah, Andy Atherton. I missed my cue there, but
Missed opportunity, Logan, my friend. But yeah, no, it's great to be here, back here on the NoSo, doing one of their great countdown projects. So very excited here to talk about one of my favorite current guys.
Yeah. Definitely one of my favorite guys currently as well. We'll just get straight into it. When you think WrestleMania, when you think Seth Rollins, what's the first thing that kind of comes to your mind?
Well, come on. I'm gonna take the layup here. It's the cash in.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be one of the top 5 WrestleMania moments, I think, of all time. Unexpected, blew the roof off the place. Was tremendous. You know, he loses earlier in the night. Had in a great match with Randy, and again, that RKO that he gets hit with, Randy should get most of the credit for his RKO, but the person receiving the RKO has got to do their part. And Seth gets such height on that RKO. Again, top 5 RKOs of all time. But yeah, that and I would just say slightly right below it, because I was there live, was him beating Brock with my son, who that was his favorite guy at the time, and that's what he wanted to see. He had a Rollins shirt on. He was excited. He screamed like his head off. I mean, so for me, that's my, my head top, and then my heart top 1.
Yeah, the cash in is definitely what comes to mind for me. Really, that whole night for him, like you said, losing to Randy early on in the night, and then obviously winning the belt later. I'm a little younger than a lot of the guys that are doing these countdowns, so that's a big moment for me. You know, I was a fan of Seth back when he was Tyler Black and Ring of Honor and all that kind of stuff, so I've kind of followed his whole journey. Maybe not his whole journey, but most of his journey, from being the world champion in Ring of Honor to being NXT champion to being then WWE champion. So I felt like that was a real big moment for me as a fan, because he's always been one of my guys since I've ever known who he was. So, but yeah, that one's definitely a big moment for me, and that would definitely hit me a lot harder than some of the other moments throughout history. But I really enjoyed that one, and I thought it was really well done. It's probably either the best cash-in or one of the best cash-ins ever, without a doubt. We'll just kind of start going through the rest of his matches. He starts at WrestleMania 29. It's the Shield. Him, Dean Ambrose, and Roman Reigns taking on Randy Orton, Sheamus, and the Big Show, kind of a hodgepodge team. It's kind of what they've been doing throughout the last few months around this time, kind of just throwing them against all these big superstar world title contenders, just to see who could finally vanquished them and all that good stuff. You know, it's not the best match. It's a solid little tag opener. Nothing that blows your socks off. Meltzer went 2.5, Canton went 2.5, and JT went 3.25. But yeah, it's right down the middle, kind of a 2.5 kind of match. Nothing special, but it got the show started.
It's a decent opener. You had 3 popular veterans against the hot new trio. getting them on the show. This is the right way to get these three guys on their first Mania. And yeah, I thought it was fine. It wasn't great, wasn't bad. It had a little storyline going in it. I think they all performed well. And it was a solid opener.
Yeah, it's never going to be on a list of greatest openers of all time, but a solid way to start the show. Nothing too bad there. Of course, it led to Big Show heel turn number 5001. So there is that. But we'll move on to the next year, WrestleMania 30. This is the squash of the New Age Outlaws, and Corporate can get a little bit of offense in the beginning, but it's mostly just destruction by the Shield. They even do the double, triple power bomb on the New Age Outlaws, which is kind of the best moment of the match. It's not a great match by any standards, but it never really was supposed to be a squash, supposed to really put these guys over in their new kind of face role that they had just turned to. So Meltzer gave it 2, Kent gave it 1, and then JT gave it 2 as well. But what do you think?
It's not a great match. I mean, Kane looked terrible in this match. The Outlaws were old. I thought the double, triple power bomb was really cool. One of the few times, because correct me if I'm wrong, but they didn't wear the mask that often, right? I think they kind of had them for like a short time, and then for a reason they disappeared, and that was the entrance. That was the coolest part of the match, besides the power bomb. Yeah, it's not a good match. It's probably, if you would have to say, his worst match, his worst WrestleMania match, just because he's involved in it. Not that he was bad in it, but that this has got to be his worst WrestleMania match overall. Just saying,
yeah, honestly, these first 2 are probably his worst, which is saying something, because they're the first one was solid, and this one's not really supposed to be a great match. Like I said, it's supposed to kind of be a squash of the old guys and the new guard kind of emerging. So, but he will definitely get better early and often from here on out. We'll move on to the next year, WrestleMania 31. His first match is against Randy Orton, that we kind of already talked about. Really great match. You might have at the time thought that Rollins should win, but we didn't obviously know where we were leading towards the end of the night. So Randy gets the win here. Meltzer went 4, Kent went 3 3/4, and JT went 3.5. I think this is his first really great match at WrestleMania. But what do you think of this one?
Definitely, I think he hits a hell of a moonsault in this. Randy does kick out of the curb stomp in this, and it is really solid. I mean, he was newly minted, heel, with the whole, there's always a plan B thing, and the whole tension between him and Randy and the Authority led to this. No, this was really, really solid, and you had a feeling he wins that match, there's probably no chance of a cash in. That's traditional. I wouldn't say Vince booking, but the guy, going to lose to take the win later on. It's like, the guy who loses the match before the pay-per-view or wins the match, or vice versa. Whoever wins on the go-home show, it's going to be the opposite result on the pay-per-view. So that's I think, what was happening.
Maybe as a fan at the time, I should have thought, maybe this means he cashes in later, but it completely struck me by surprise when it happened. So, but yeah, I mean, I totally get Randy winning here. The whole feud had been like, Rollins kind of replaced Orton as like the apple of Triple H's eye and the Authority. But yeah, he was the new chosen prospect, and Randy was kind of pushed to the side. So he didn't like that. But like I said, Randy gets the win, and obviously what happens later in the night makes it make a little bit more sense. And obviously we'll talk about that next. He comes in the title match. The title match has been going on for probably 15 or so minutes at that point. He runs down with his briefcase, cashes in, and wins the WWE Championship in the main event of WrestleMania. And he has the famous scene of him holding the title above his head as the fireworks go off behind him in the Santa Clara sky. So what do you think of the cash in?
As Cole says, the heist of the century.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying like I saw it coming. When it happens, it's like, oh, kind of like the gears kind of kick in. You're like, okay, I see what's happening here. No. I mean, Roman and Brock beating the crap out of each other.
Yeah.
For a good solid 10 to 15 minutes, like you said. And then out of nowhere, because I mean, it took this long for Money in the Bank had been around for how long? And this was WrestleMania 31. So it took that long to do a cash in at WrestleMania. Pretty ingenious. I mean, on the big stage, I remember you know, the little, like, you know, the dance he does, whatever you want to call it, after he wins. I mean, that still is ingrained in my brain. Yeah, I think he's in for about a minute to two, I think a minute and a half, 2 minutes tops after he cashes in is when the match goes. And great finish though, with Brock having Seth up for the F5, and then hits the spear. Roman hits the spear on Brock, and then Seth comes down and hits the curb stomp, and we have a win.
Yeah, definitely. Really, really strong match before that, and then the cash in only adds to it. So, but he misses the next year. He was injured. He tore the knee up pretty bad. So he misses 32, but he comes back. Like we kind of said, he was the apple of Triple H's eye after Randy kind of got pushed to the side. But then things kind of got a little bit of tension between them, and they end up facing each other at WrestleMania 33. A lot of people say this is one of Triple H's famous Wank Fest matches that lasts way, way too long. It goes about 26 minutes. It's not a bad match, but it lasts. It's a slog to get through for sure. Like I said, it's not bad per se, but it is also quite long for sure. But what did you think of him versus Triple H?
Well, this was definitely a Triple H thing. It's the big entrance. You know, it's got the all the pomp and circumstance to it. It was good, a fine match. I mean, I think the biggest pop was when Steph goes through the table. Here's the thing too about Seth Rollins. Arguably my favorite guy is Shawn Michaels, probably of all time.
Yeah. Same.
I see him as like a lot of parallels between him and Shawn, and I can kind of see where, you know, how his move set, his offense, everything. He's very similar to Shawn. I tell you, if a countdown like this is done in 5-10 years, I think Seth is going to move up a number of slots, because I think he is kind of like Mr. WrestleMania too. I mean, we're still talking about it and we're going through, but if you see, you know, how he's starting to progress and the matches he's getting into and the trust the company has in him, the stage, like, you know, the rubs he's getting. I mean, he gets the cash in at Mania. Now he's facing Triple H, and Triple H, you know, he goes over Triple H. So what's going to be, you know, next for him? I wouldn't say not treads water the next year, but because that's a really good match. But, you know, he has that another big moment and then a couple of other things. And now you kind of see where he is in terms of on the card, what he's being tasked to do. And I think that's a kind of a feather in his cap at this point in his career.
Yeah. This is a real turning point for him. Maybe not the next couple of years, but he kind of gets slotted into a role at a certain point. And we'll kind of talk about that when we get there. But this was him kind of emerging as that he's definitely going to stay as a main eventer for a long time. Like I said, it's not a bad match. It probably lasts a little too long. There's a few too many kickouts probably, but it's a Triple H match at WrestleMania. You know, if he had any more, it would be just the same, whoever he faced the next time. But obviously Triple H is retired at this point. But we'll move on to the next year in New Orleans. He is in a triple threat Intercontinental Championship match. He wins the IC title in a match with Finn Balor and The Miz. Meltzer went 3.5, Canton went 4.25, and JT went 4. This would definitely be amongst some of the greatest openers in WrestleMania history, because this match is an absolute banger. Probably The Miz's best match in his career, but these guys just go back and forth the whole time. Lasts about 15 minutes, nonstop action, just constant pace going throughout. So, but yeah, he emerges with the IC title here, and he had his like White Walker gear on, which was really cool from the Game of Thrones cosplay. So what did you think of this one?
Oh no, hot opener, really great. Yeah, and The Miz really stepped up his game. Finn, so hugely over. I mean, his entrance was enormous, and you know, with the lights and everything. Honestly, I'm trying to think back. I probably had Finn to win this match, thinking the WrestleMania debut, he had just come back. No, I thought this was great. I mean, I think all three guys and Seth was like bumping all over the place, here, there, everywhere. Between him and Finn, they're flying. Lots of great sequences with all three guys. I mean, The Miz really stepped up to keep up with those two guys. Because if you look on paper, like, oh, you got Finn, you got Seth, you got The Miz. Miz is a pretty good wrestler, but he's not the worker like Finn and Seth are. But in this match, he was. And this was a tremendous match. Great opener. I highly agree with you that this would be probably on a countdown of best WrestleMania openers. It's up in the top portion of that list.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, and Miz, like you said, Miz hung with both guys. He didn't seem out of place at all. He definitely could have in a match like this, but he definitely didn't. And yeah, I probably would have picked Balor going in because he had, kind of just came back, like you said. He had a really good performance in the Rumble. I think he was like either number 1 or 2, and he lasts almost all the way to the end. So I probably would have had him slotted to win this match too. But Rollins wasn't a bad pick either. So. But we will move on to the next year, WrestleMania 35. He had won the Rumble. He challenged Brock Lesnar. He became known as the Beast Slayer that year. So, but it's a pretty short match. Lesnar beats the absolute dog shit out of him before the bell even rings. Just throws him around the outside, beats the crap out of him. Finally rolls him in the ring, and bell time, you only get about 2.5 minutes, and it's just bomb after bomb, just suplex, F5, and then Seth actually finishes him off with 3 curb stomps. So this is like the perfect setup for a Brock match where he just kind of beats the crap out of the guy, and then he kind of succumbs to the, you have to hit him with so many finishers, but he finally succumbs to the overcoming babyface in that situation, which was Seth at this point. And this was actually the opener. The women were always going to main event, so these two guys were like, why don't we just go ahead and go out there and have a great match and start the show. So but what did you think of this one? Yeah,
great story to this. There were actually 3 matches on the pre-show that day. I was there at MetLife for my son. Like I said, this was the one thing he was most looking forward to. So had my excitement through him, and yeah, Brock beats the living snot out of Seth outside the ring. He takes off the WrestleMania thing off the table, throws him through that. I mean, it takes like the ref to be kind of like, blocked, and then he hits that low blow, classic Ric Flair right there. And then, 3 curve stomps. I mean, the place went bananas. What a great moment for him. And also the setup, like, how it was like almost a Davey versus Goliath. I said Davey, sorry. David versus Goliath. I'm not talking about the cartoon or stop motion show. About that thing. This was, a great moment. Those curb stomps were good. And people, Brock does it, man. When Brock got a job, he jobs. And it's always something when he does it. I mean, whether it's, getting this crap kicked down by Goldberg or this is like, you can't believe that's, you look at Seth and it's like, oh my God, he took down Brock in a one-on-one match. And yeah, he did. So it's pretty amazing that Seth, did the endurance on the outside, getting thrown all over the place into everything and anything, and then gets the win. And the look on Paul's face when the count happens, it's priceless. Like always with Paul, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and technically he's beat Brock twice at WrestleMania, so that's crazy to think that not really anybody else could probably say that for sure. So, I mean, I know he pinned Roman in 31, but technically beat Brock too. So he is a beast, and you do have to slay him. So you have to really give it your best shot. So he had to, he had reach in his back pocket and pull out 3 curb stomps, but he finally did get it done. But we'll move to the next one, WrestleMania 36, which was in the Thunderdome in the Performance Center. This one was one that I thought really benefited from being in the Performance Center. Like, not obviously it would have been better in front of fans, but you could hear them talk to each other and kind of trash talk. And I feel like this is one that really benefited from having that little part of it to go along, because him and Kevin are going back and forth at each other the whole time. It's a really good match. It's probably one of the better matches on the Thunderdome Mania, but
COVID Mania.
Yeah, COVID Mania, whatever you want to call it. Meltzer and JT didn't even rate it, but Canton gave it 3 3/4. So I don't know what my best match would be on that Mania, but that's definitely up there for sure. And it's obviously remembered for KO kind of climbing the pirate flag logo and doing the big elbow drop off of it through the announce table. So what did you think of this one?
I think because of the 2 guys, that's what saved it in the Thunderdome, and the no sound, basically nothing outside of them, because Kevin is such a great talker in the ring. Like, you hear him over. Welcome to WWE, like with when he throws AJ out, when AJ, Kevin is known for talking during his matches to the point where you can hear him, and it's meant to be heard. It's not like, them calling cues and all that stuff. And Seth, his Monday Night Messiah character, played into that. And the fact that he gets himself DQ'd and then they bring it back, Kevin calls him out, and then it leads to Kevin, basically getting a win off of that insane spot off the top. Yeah, I think because of these two guys, they made it work in this situation. If it was another combination, maybe not so much, but because of these two guys and how they are and how they talk and how they do that, and they basically took lemons and made lemonade. So I think it was a really good match, personally.
Yeah, they're super talented in ring, but they do have the gift of gab as well. So it definitely helped them in that situation. And like I said, it would have been great in front of fans as well. But I do think it's one of the ones that wasn't hurt by the fact that there were no fans, because they could bicker and go back and forth at each other. So and this is kind of what I was talking about earlier. This is the first year where Seth becomes this, he's like the gatekeeper to the main event. So he keeps his role at this point is to kind of lay down for the guy that they're kind of trying to push the next year and kind of put into these kind of world title programs going forward into the next year. And it kind of happens the next year as well. We'll go to 37, which was in Tampa. This was the first Mania with fans after the COVID Mania. He takes on Cesaro, who was kind of they were kind of trying to up and come and give him another big push coming out of this. But this was 4 stars across the board from all the guys. Really, really solid match. I think this one went about the perfect length. I wouldn't have made it any shorter or longer, but Cesaro seemed like he was headed for a rocket push after this, because he really blew it out of the water on this one. And this is another one of those cool curb stomp reversals, because he kind of does what Randy does and kind of throws him up, but then he hits him with the uppercut, which was a really sick spot. But being at this one, I really, really thought coming out of this that Cesaro would be definitely he got a world title match eventually, but obviously he doesn't last in the company too much longer after this. But what'd you think of this match?
Yeah, poor Cesaro, the guy, all the talent over with the fans, never got the brass ring. Maybe he'll be the next Cody or Drew to go away and come back an even bigger star. That's my hope, at least for Cesaro. It was a great match, 2 great workers. I mean, they led, they continued the story with the Cesaro swing where, 21, 22 something times, gets him with that other move where he does that, like the airplane spin with no hands, and then Seth just goes flying off. Yeah, Seth bumps around for everybody. Yeah, this was a great match, basically. It was, like you said, a perfect length, because the rate and the speed that these guys were going, they were probably going to run out of gas at some point. And I think, and having it any shorter would have not done justice to these guys. So solid match. I definitely agree with the ratings on this one. And yeah, I mean, it seems like a little bit of a step back in terms of, no title, no stipulation. It seems that it's just like, all right, well, let's put you and you together for WrestleMania kind of thing. And that's kind of how I felt about it, but it doesn't take away from the match. It's just, when you're thinking about Seth and his placement on the card, this was just a WrestleMania match. Wasn't anything around that at all. So that's why I think it was like a step back, maybe booking wise, but not match quality wise.
Yeah. And I think he takes these kind of matches serious, like the one with KO and this one. He obviously wants to make that guy look good, because maybe they're headed for bigger and better things. And when he puts them over, he really wants to make them look as good as they can. So, but we'll go on to the next year. WrestleMania 38 was also there for this one. A lot of hype around this one. Rollins had been begging for a Mania opponent. Vince McMahon finally has him come to his office and says, if you wanted a Mania opponent, all you had to do was ask. But Vince is going to choose who it was, whoever it was going to be. So going into the night, he had no idea who he was facing, storyline wise, of course. But the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, ends up being his surprise opponent. Big return. Obviously, it started AEW, been there, had been in WWE, left around 2015, 2016. So, but yeah, huge return. He's been super over since he came back. So, but yeah, this one gets 4.5 from both Meltzer and Canton, and 4 stars from JT. But this match is good. I would even almost call it great. But it is more about the moment in my mind. The moment kind of factors into how good the match is, because it's a great moment. You know, the choir sings Seth in, and then obviously you get the wrestling has more than one royal family with all the fireworks, and he rises from below the stage and all that kind of stuff. So I do think the match is good to great, but I think the moment is bigger and makes that rating a little bit higher at the same time. So what do you think?
Yeah, you hit it right on the head right there. Yeah, the moment is everything. The buildup was great. I mean, look, the IWC, whatever the marks, whatever you want to call it, everybody pretty much knew it was going the max. Everybody knew it was going to be Cody. I mean, on this very channel here, I was with Ryan, and we talked about this. I didn't think the pop was, the reception was going to be as big. Definitely didn't hit the Hardys level. I think the Hardys got a bigger pop when they came back, but it was bigger than I had probably predicted. And I will admit that I was incorrect. Not first nor last time, probably today. I was wrong about something. But no, it was, about the moment. It was a good match. It's the start of like a great rivalry between these two guys too. I mean, I don't know if I would put the cage match higher or not, but I definitely think, this is, again, the trust. This is where he is in terms of like, he's still, I guess, maybe starting to become an elder statesman a little bit in terms of the company. And who are we going to put in here that's going to, there's probably, butterflies on Cody's part. It's a big moment. Who can handle it? Who can get in there and put on a great match? And who can, will take the loss? And it's Seth. And he does his job, plays into it perfectly. Love, the whole build up with him begging for a match and jumping on Vince's desk and everything like that. Yeah, it was really, about the story, about the return, about the spectacle. The match, really good. Not the greatest, but really, really good. So definitely, I agree with your assessment there on it's more about the moment than the match.
Yeah, and like I said, like I've been saying, Seth is kind of the guy that they put in there when they know they need to get somebody over. You obviously want to give Cody a big moment, a big win when he comes in here. Who's the best guy to throw in to kind of get him over in that situation? Seth is probably one of the best picks, if not the best pick for that situation. So definitely a great moment and a really good match at the same time. But we'll get to his final match now. WrestleMania 39 last year, he took on Logan Paul. Didn't like him being an outsider and kind of coming in thinking he's hot shit and all that good stuff. So that was kind of the rivalry going into this. Just another incredible match between these two guys. Both guys are super athletic. Logan Paul, the way that he's been able to be so natural at this in all facets, really. As quickly as he has been, it is really, really, truly incredible. You may not like the guy personally, but he's a heck of an athlete and a heck of a pro wrestler at this point for sure. So, but Meltzer went 4.5, and then Canton and JT both went 4. So what do you think of this one?
I mean, I thought it was great. I mean, again, it's Seth being that trusted hand to get in there, and this guy, as much as you hate him in real life, like you're like, oh, he's such a jerk, he's a pompous ass, he's whatever, he's a YouTuber, but the guy can go, and he's really great in the ring. A lot of great spots in this match. I mean, that entrance that he, on the zip line, he comes down, just a guy that you loved, natural heel. And Seth being that veteran that, hey, this is my business. You can't come in here and think you know my business because we've been killing ourselves for so long. It's kind of like how we all feel. It's like a little bit of resentment on him. But no, Seth flying around everything, hitting KSI, is that the guy's name? In the Prime bottle. I mean, it's not the longest match, but definitely I would agree with the ratings that we see because again, it's Seth, being Seth, being that guy that can carry anybody. You know, he does get the win because I think that's a bit of a stretch to have Logan Paul beat Seth at WrestleMania at this point. You know, a few years from now, maybe, you know, Logan Paul win over Seth would be a little more legitimate. They could have done some kind of fluky roll up or something, some interference, something similar to like how, you know, he wins the U.S. title, things like that. But no, definitely a solid match. Probably in the top half, at least, you know, arguably in the top few of Seth's resume here for WrestleMania.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, Seth had kind of been on a little bit of a losing streak, so he kind of needed to get a big win here. You know, he had been putting over guys over the last few years, and Logan Paul didn't really need the win per se. He's who he is. You know, he's a great celebrity pop in here and there. He's never going to be a full-time wrestler. He's obviously got other ventures and stuff that he is a part of and stuff like that. So, but yeah, he's a guy that you just don't want. You just don't want to like, but you can't deny how good he has been and the matches that he's had so far. So, just a really talented performer for sure.
Yeah, you may not like him, but you gotta respect his ability.
Exactly. But just a few more stats for Seth. His average star rating is 3.55, which is incredible to think about. He has 11 matches that we all talked about, one main event. He has 2 world title matches, and due to the scores, he has 6 all-time WrestleMania matches, which is a incredible number to reach towards. What makes his resume stronger to you? You know, is there anything that really sets him apart from everybody else that you could talk about on one of these countdowns?
I mean, I think because of the WrestleMania moments, right? The cash in, beating Brock, Cody, you know, Logan Paul. I mean, and you know, I know we're not including that, but look at this year's. Look at the potential for WrestleMania moments, the potential for his resume to get even more pad. I mean, he's in the tag match with you know, him and Cody versus Rock and Roman. There's going to be some kind of WrestleMania moment going in there, and then him and Drew on night 2. So it's going to be something. And he's, again, like I said earlier, he is probably, I would say, this generation's Shawn Michaels, who's Mr. WrestleMania. So this could be Mr. WrestleMania, I guess, part 2, the sequel,
2.0,
Electric Boogaloo, however you want to say it. You know, he's the guy. You know, he's solid, and he's the character stuff. He's gone from, you know, the architect to the turncoat to the micros, you know, the Monday Night Messiah. And now he's freaking Rollins, and he's, you know, the clown, or what The Rock is calling him these days. But you know, the guy, you know, in between the ring, he's always solid, and the character stuff, it depends on the year. And he does. The builds are always pretty damn good, with the exception of a couple. The builds have been really great too.
Yeah, we could do another 15-20 minutes on all of his outfits that he's worn throughout the years, but we'll hold off on that for now. But as far as negatives to his resume, I'll kind of start off with those. But those first 2 matches kind of being, you know, especially the WrestleMania 30 match kind of being a squash, there not being too much to it. And then the first match, obviously, it was kind of a match to get them over some bigger superstars. But, you know, obviously from him getting any higher than number 18, which he's at on this list, I think those would have needed to be a little stronger. And like I said, when I talked about Drew with Callum, you know, 11 matches is a lot, but he still doesn't even touch, you know, like an Undertaker or a Triple H or a Shawn Michaels in terms of match amount, like just quantity. He has the quality part, but he's, you know, if he continues, like you said earlier, if he continues to kind of have matches throughout the years and they continue to be great, he will definitely climb this list before too long. But any negatives to his resume outside of what I said?
No, I think you were pretty spot on there with those. You know, the first triple threat, they get them on the card, get their first WrestleMania. The second one, not great, but everything else has been solid. And it's just in terms of doing like an all-time list, he just doesn't have the longevity yet. I mean, you know, you look at the other people on this list that's ahead of him. Many more WrestleManias, many more moments, it's just, you know, give him some time when all is said and done and he hangs them up, where is Seth going to be? Probably, my guess right now would probably be he ends up in the top 10 after his career is over. That's what my guess would be at this time.
I gotcha. Yeah, I definitely agree. And just to build on that, 18, do you think he's kind of too high, too low, or do you think he's just right, kind of where he is?
I think at this point he's where he should be.
Mm. Yeah, he could be a little bit higher for me. I kind of don't know who's surrounding him or anything like that, but yeah, he's definitely right in the range that I kind of probably would have put him at to begin with if I had kind of worked my way through this list. But yeah, I definitely think he definitely has the potential to climb. He definitely has a couple of opportunities this year. I don't know how much quality the tag match will have, but him and Drew will be a banger for sure. So
yeah,
that one will definitely put another good match on his resume. But that's pretty much it. But what do you have to plug tonight? Do you have anything you want to plug?
Just check out the Pop Experience. I know we're in a little bit of a lull at the moment. We're still building, coming back to some shows that have been taking some hiatus, but always dropping every weekday. We always have something dropping, so check that out and check out what you and I do on a monthly basis.
Yeah, we do Who's Next over on the Placement Nation Wrestling feed, talking about current day NXT. We just recorded an episode, kind of what's happened to this point, heading towards Stand and Deliver. We might not get another episode in before Stand and Deliver happens, but we'll have something shortly after and kind of recap what happened.
Yeah, we gave some predictions without knowing much of the card, so hopefully we'll see how good we are at prognosticating, I think it's called.
Yeah, there you go. But as far as me, here on the North South Connection, linking up luchas, we're about to record the Ultima Lucha episode. That's the season finale for season 1. So definitely looking forward to live watching that with all the crew on that show. Talking Docs, that's with Roger and Jenny. We just did Jeffrey Dahmer. We're doing a serial killer season, so we really started off with a bang. Really hard to kind of get into, but I think we did a really good job with it. So, and then Ruthlessly Aggressive, we just did the Vengeance 2003 episode. I'm kind of the permanent guest host on that one. So, with Jake. So, just check out everything here on the North South Connection and Place to Be Nation Wrestling feed and Pop Experience that Andy just promoted. So just check out everything. Everybody's doing great stuff. So, but we will move on to number 17. Peace out.
All right. Hey now, North South Connection YouTube page. We're counting down WrestleMania Performers. We got a controversial one here today, but I'm going to say we're only here to talk about Vince McMahon as a WrestleMania performer, innovator, and person with inside the business. All other stuff we're going to leave out for another time. But I wanted to start with the idea of Vince McMahon. I think you got to split it in two categories. I think you have everything he's done outside the ring at Mania in terms of his innovations, creating it, financing it, announcing on it, all those things. And then I think you have a separate category, which is his matches in the ring. And then we can balance them together and you kind of get a full picture of why Vince McMahon might be 17, despite some of these matches, especially the last two, maybe not being as memorable as others. So let's start with the off the field stuff, so to speak. And I think, Ryan, the first thing we have to say is this thing wouldn't exist if this guy wasn't willing to risk it all to have the first one. And that's got to be said, I think.
Yeah, so to speak, him and Linda, mortgaged all their financing, everything they had into WrestleMania 1. They run the MSG every month leading into this for years and years. And then they have this kind of idea off of kind of a push from Embersol to kind of go ahead and have a big event because they just signed that big Saturday Night's Main Event contract. And we got the Rock and Wrestling boiling, and let's just risk it all. Momentum is on the rise. And obviously 40 years later, it worked out.
Yep. And this is, of course, the era of closed circuits. So you're taking a risk there. Theaters all over. I heard stories of him and Linda after WrestleMania 1, which is in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Up like all night, just counting receipts from as they came in from different places and finding out, hey, this worked. It was a small group of people who were working on these manias and booking them and building them. WrestleMania 3, they didn't announce that venue until into 1987 almost.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
early February or something like that.
It was late into the game that they announced it. So that just goes to show, I think, how small it was, but how big they could do things at the time. And I think his innovation, his commentary on some is another thing we have to consider. Obviously, WrestleMania 2, he does the New York portion, which is the weakest.
Yeah.
And his partner's not great, to say the least. But he's also sort of the point man for the whole show, kind of, we'll send you to here, we'll send you to there. And then he's not back again until what? 11 maybe.
Yeah, a commentator, he does the New York portion at 2 and 11, 12, and 13. But at WrestleMania, he opens WrestleMania 3 and it says Aretha Franklin after kind of just addressing the crowd and so on and so forth. Well, WrestleMania 3 is his first high watermark on a importance of WrestleMania in Vince McMahon.
Yeah, that great moment. If you ever go to a Bruce Pritchard show, he tells a great story about that as well. If he still does those, I don't think he does right now. He's with the company.
Yeah. All right, so yeah, at WrestleMania 15, he would find himself running into the main event, and this is kind of the first time where he's presented in the main event scene as a character. You know, Mr. McMahon started boiling at the start of 1998, and he was, full-fledged in 99 as a character, and he finds himself against odds trying to keep the belt away from Austin, and he has a memorable HBK promo at 15, but ultimately he has a run-in at 15, tries to be a referee or whatever, but his first crucial in-ring action is around the main event at 15. And then at 16, he's in The Rock's corner when it's a McMahon in every corner. Yeah. And he goes to turn on The Rock at WrestleMania 16 and aligns himself with Stephanie and Triple H for mid-teens of the Mania is where he kind of finds himself flirting with in-ring action.
Right. And he's in Royal Rumbles around that time. The Austin McMahon thing is going strong. There's the corporation. There's all that sort of Attitude Era stuff. And then he finally has his first match at 17, which is versus Shane McMahon when sort of the family feud, the street fight. Mick Foley was the ref. Yep. And they go 14 minutes and 12 seconds. And I thought, have a really great match. This has got to be his best one, I think, of all the matches here. Pretty close. And I think they do a great job. They work hard. Shane takes bumps like Shane takes bumps. I don't think they overstay their welcome like maybe they do on a couple of the other matches. Let's see, we got 3 from Meltzer, 3.5 from this Canton, who I'm going to have to find out at some point who that is.
Good guy. I'll introduce you.
And then JT at 4.5, which,
wild.
by the way, is the same he has Steamboat Savage. So he needs his head examined. 3.67. Where are you at on this one?
I'm about 4. I think it's great. 4's baseline great for me. With the hoopla of Linda and Trish, you got Mick Foley walking around. There's just so much jazz. You got WCW stars watching from the skybox. Perhaps they're going to run in. This is the definition of sports entertainment. Mick Foley, who McMahon fired as a commissioner earlier in the year or whatever. So there's just so much adversity heading towards Vince McMahon, his affair, his son, his daughter-daddy relationship. There's so much story and substance and so much to sink their teeth into. And I actually do think they hit a solid triple of a 4-star match. And they probably, honestly, fuck it. It's a home run. They probably peak of what they could have done with all this stuff going on here.
Yeah, it's one of the great probably moments of the Attitude Era, maybe. I think this is still Attitude Era for sure.
Oh, yeah. Some would say this closes the Attitude Era, Steve.
Yeah, that could be fair. We agree it's his best Mania match here then, probably.
Personally, I prefer 2 more other than this. But I think the reason why Vince is 17 on this list is because he has, in my opinion, 3 4-star matches. But the closing of the Attitude Era, he has a big in-ring segment closing WrestleMania 17, and that's with your boy in the main event. Steve, can I just ask you a question, buddy? Yeah. What did you think of Mr. McMahon and Stone Cold shaking hands here at WrestleMania 17 and coming together?
Not for me.
Not for you?
I guess it's something in wrestling that sometimes has to happen. Like they say, Hogan had to do it. Cena didn't do it, and that's a big controversy. But I know Austin regrets it, and I think that it would have been better off without it. I think the whole story is this employee versus boss, and Austin's the guy who sticks up for everyone else to be against the boss. And I find it hard to believe that he would ever. It's painful as one of the regular people to see him turn his back on that and join forces with the boss. So I probably wouldn't have done it.
It's just weird.
Not a fatal error or anything, but I wouldn't have done it.
Well, business does fall down afterwards a little bit, you know, coinciding with WCW going down and them kind of putting lesser stars on screen, lesser stars on the road, and so on and so forth. A lot of guys become part-time after WrestleMania 17. WrestleMania 17 is definitely the crescendo of the Attitude Era.
Yep.
And for them to kind of go out like that, I guess is apropos, but overall, it's a miss, and it's a little weird in hindsight. But even though Austin has a great 2001 as that douchey heel character, it just doesn't make sense business-wise, and no one wants to see Stone Cold as a heel with Mr. McMahon, even though the TV kind of works.
Yeah, he's the best as like you're not really sure almost. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like that's where it's absolutely the best, where, you know, maybe during that Hart Foundation era where he's a heel in some places, he's like right in the middle of it, and he can almost be both. But God bless Stone Cold. Sure, he'll be much higher on this list. A little bit higher. All right, so that brings us to 19, and Hulk Hogan, who again will someone who will be later on this. Actually, I think a lot of the guys I'm looking at here will be later on this list. And
maybe not McAfee.
Yeah, maybe not McAfee. It's a street fight. They go long, 20 minutes and 47 seconds. But you know, for Meltzer to give a Hogan versus McMahon match 3 stars, you know it was great. Good. Canton and JT might have a fight on this one.
I'm going to have to ask him. I'm going to ask my buddy about this
2.5. JT's at 5.
That's wild. I'm 4.5.
Okay.
I think
I'm in the 4.5 range for sure. Love Hulk here. Love McMahon. They work hard. You know, it's like, and it's a great end to their story in general. You know, the love-hate relationship they had for all these years. And really, really great stuff. WrestleMania 19 is another very good one from out of my era that I'm fond of. You know, one of the best for sure. And this match is one of the big reasons. Really, really good stuff here.
Justin's a little wild with the 5, but I understand it. I love the optics of McMahon with the pipe coming above the apron. You son of a bitch with the Crisman mask. Yeah. Piper runs in. We get Piper running in. So it's like a callback to WrestleMania 1.
Which was a great surprise, I guess. They did a great job hiding Piper.
Yeah. For sure.
Told that story.
When I talked about Keith, he put this in perfectly. This was a lot of a lot. And it worked for me 100%. Yeah. I love it. I adore it. But the Mr. America stuff coming out of it, not so much. But hey, it doesn't matter here. Overall, it worked. I love McMahon with the leg drop off the ladder through the table. That pretty big spot for Vince, you know, kudos. Yeah. But overall, 20 minutes, I was epically entertained. They crushed an absolute home run, and I love it. I adore it. I think it's great.
Do you like this match or the last
I prefer this
Austin
one
better?
I have this match, Bret Austin, Shawn, and then I have Angle and Lesnar. They're all 4.25 and above.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. All right. After that, we go to 20, and obviously here we have WrestleMania 1 is an MSG, 10 is an MSG, and for 20, we bring bring McMahon out. He's got to give a little something, say a little something. They did something special at all those, right? At 30, they did the 3 mega stars. Be interesting to see what they start 40 with. Probably not Vince.
Yeah, I think something, right?
But, what do you think of his brief appearance at 20?
No, it's cool. It's a video package, pre-record, him and Shane, where it all started again, I believe was the hashtag. And it's pretty much Vince and Shane. They walk onto the screen, and then Vince, you know, shows a baby, which becomes Declan, who's now playing for the Indiana Hoosiers. I assume practice squad running back. I don't know if he'll see the field, but still, made college football as a walk-on, PWO. Kudos to him. But it's, you know, it's cool in retrospect to have that, you know, it's generational, it's family. Say what you want about the McMahons, but overall, I understand the sentiment, what they were trying to go with.
Next up is his match against Shawn, another pretty good one.
I love this match.
We're 3 years later for Vince. He's 3 years older. He's blown his quads out however many times at this point. And here he is again for 18 minutes and 22 seconds in another no-holds-barred match. 3.5 from Meltzer. Again, like, wow. Canton is with this one. He's at 3. And we got 4.5 from JT, so he's a little lower than this one. But I have a feeling you like this one a lot too, right? This was good again. This is one I've watched a few times, you know. I went back to watch this one. I went back to watch the Hulk one a few times.
Yeah.
I think these are the best two for me.
I love this match. Vince is so fucking good at getting his ass kicked. I love the hoopla, the Spirit Squad. I love Shane coming down in his dungarees and the sports coach jackets and gets handcuffed to ringside. And oh my God, I love the promo beforehand where Vince is with his whole family, Linda, Shane, and Stephanie, and he's like talking about God, and he's just, it's just, I don't know, it's just enough. And honestly, what added to it, this is the last arena-based WrestleMania. This is at the All-State. After this, they would be in a in like a baseball stadium or a football stadium coming out of this. So the atmosphere for this is absolute rocking. And then add in JR, who Vince fired on TV, 6 weeks earlier or whatever, and he is just cheerleading Shawn Michaels through this ass kicking. I think Vince maybe has like 4 strikes, but if it's the table spot and then he gets the ladder, and he gets the bigger ladder. He has the trash can on the table spot. And then it's before that, it's the picture of Vince McMahon on Muscle and Fitness. Add in the Spirit Squad. There's just so much hoopla, so much garbage.
More entertainment, right? More great.
Oh my, perfect way to put it. It's a lot of great shit, pal.
Absolutely. WrestleMania 23 is the next year, 20 years after WrestleMania 3. They're back in Detroit at the beautiful Ford Field.
Yeah.
And this is billionaire versus billionaire. You got, wow, talk about polarizing here, right? We got Donald Trump and Vince McMahon on opposite corners. Who were the rest? Umaga, I think, was one, and who was the other one? I can't remember.
Trump called him Bobby Lindsay.
Yeah, this is one I've only watched once. I mean, Vince,
the match is
fair, right? Yeah,
the match is good.
Yeah.
It's a spectacle.
Yeah.
Vince does a good job. Austin's the special referee, adds to it. Vince cuts his hair. It's very, very good fun. I think Justin and I had it like 80, and we maybe overrated it quite a bit. Yeah. But it's good. It's honestly, it's the highest grossing WrestleMania at this point from a pay-per-view box office standpoint. So kudos to them. You can't deny that.
Yeah, it's numbers right there.
Yeah,
good for them. All right, so then we go into WrestleMania 26 is next, and versus Bret Hart, who I love.
Great story coming in.
Good story, but Bret has had better moments. Vince has had better moments. A no-hold-barred lumberjack match is maybe doing too much. 11 minutes and 9 seconds. You know what I always thought they should have done is they should have recreated the scene from the locker room after the screw job. Bret should have got in there and said, I'm going to give you 30 seconds to get out of here, or I'm going to knock you out. Like he did in the bathroom, right? He's like,
better than this.
And then he knocks him out because Vince doesn't leave and he pins him. That would have been better. This is 11 minutes of disaster. Meltzer didn't even rate it. Canton is 1. JT is dud. I can't defend it. I love both guys in terms of being performers. I love Bret. Bret versus, it's interesting because Bret versus Austin is like here, right? Like, and this is here. I mean, his range of Mania matches may be bigger than anyone. One of the very, very best and one of the very worst.
Yeah, Justin and I had this 401 out of 402.
Okay, exactly. And you're going to have Austin and Bret
at least
away very, very high. Yeah.
Yes. So the range for Bret Hart is for another day, but yeah, it's quite large. It's a good idea. In hindsight, it's bad. It's terrible execution. Like they threw the Hearts out there, made it a lumberjack. There was a swerve where Vince fought him, and then they swerved him. Too much. Overall, in hindsight, they should have just had proxies. Why not have Vince McMahon grab Batista and Bret Hart grab Cena? And it's kind of like
one of his Davey Boy's son, or
have a tag, whatever, like
DJ or whoever.
Do what they do with the Battle of Billionaires. But
I like my idea though. I like just Bret coming out, give him a little bit of warning. I'm gonna knock you out.
Have a shower match or whatever. Yeah.
And that would be good. All right, real quick, a couple more. We can blow through them. Yeah, well, you did the quick open at 37.
The crowd's been away for about 13, 14 months at this point. They're not ready to fully come back yet. But overall, just to say thank you, we miss you, we love you. It was good sentiment. And at the time, I guess Vince was the right guy to do it.
Sure. And then we go into 38, the career-threatening match. better on the time here, 3 minutes and 45 seconds. So I'll give it that. Versus
Pat McAfee. I fucked that up. It was just supposed to be a singles match. I don't know why it says that.
Okay. That was he should have stayed at the Pat McAfee show. -2 from Meltzer, -1 from Canton. But JT gave it that 1/4 of a star. I've seen it, but
it's similar to the Brett match, but at 1/3 of the time.
Right.
And Vince is 12 years older. Fuck.
Yeah.
He can barely move. Well, supposedly, Steve, this is at the time where Vince is building up his Netflix documentary, and he needed an ending, and this is what it was supposed to be.
Not
of
anymore.
course, Austin would come out and stun him, and that's closure to Vince McMahon as a on-screen TV character. Will we get that Netflix thing? I don't know.
When I talked to Brian Alvarez on the Sportscasters podcast, I asked him what the status of that was, because I know before things broke with Vince, supposedly it was soon. It was imminent.
Yeah.
And you know, the update he had was they're not sure what to do yet. They don't know if they're gonna, you know, change the ending, if they're gonna bag it, but it seems like they're pretty pot committed in terms of investment.
It'll be a success regardless.
Maybe they'll wait for court to play out. Who knows? That's a different topic for a different day. But that's Vince McMahon's resume at WrestleMania. We can put a close on that one. I think that's what it's going to be. Some good, some bad, some great. And I think even if he never got in the ring and you said to me, Vince McMahon was 17, I would say, okay, because I don't think we can underestimate the importance of him having the balls to say, all right, here's everything I own. Let's try it.
He did put his skin on the line. So there is that. He did a commentary that a bunch of times. Opening WrestleMania 3 with Aretha was iconic and memorable. And then all the stuff as a performer, even some of it's really, really high. The latter stage of it is really, really bad. So it kind of levels out a little bit. 17, perhaps a little higher. Some would say a little lower. He's definitely decisive as an in-ring guy for sure. Look at the ratings on the screen below us. So
how many guys have matches, 3 of them, that are over 3.5 in average from 3 random graders?
Let's double it and say at 34 we had Bianca Belair with 3 matches.
Okay.
And they're all absolute home runs. So very similar to Vince being halfway down the list from Bianca. So yeah, I guess that kind of makes sense.
Yeah. So good stuff here. Thanks to North-South Connection. 17, we got 16 more to go. We're going to start getting into the really heavy hitters here. So enjoy. I'll be back. I got one more, and I'm looking forward to that one. And you could probably guess who that is. Forza Italia, Ryan, I am out of here.
See you guys.